to Asia, China has criticized Japan over its decision to proceed with the deployment of missiles in Yonaguni Island, a Japanese territory near Taiwan. Japan's Defense Minister Shinjiro Koizumi has confirmed that the deployment of Type 03 medium-range surface-to-air missiles was on track, aimed at strengthening defense against potential attacks. Beijing has accused Tokyo of deliberately escalating regional tensions and provoking military confrontation, particularly following Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi's comments, suggesting that Japan could intervene militarily in any attacks on Taiwan. China's foreign ministry has warned that these developments were extremely dangerous and called for increased vigilance from neighboring countries. Let's listen in.
中国台湾邻近的西南诸岛部署进攻性武器，刻意制造地区紧张，挑动军事对立。联系到日本首相高市早苗的涉台错误言论，这一动向极其危险，需要引起周边国家及国际社会的高度警惕。
Taiwan has supported Japan's move, stating that the missile deployment was beneficial for maintaining security in the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan's Deputy Foreign Minister Wu Chi-chung has emphasized Japan's sovereign right to defend its territory and noted that Japan's actions do not pose a threat to Taiwan. Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Andrew K.P. Long. He's a China strategist, joins us live from Hong Kong. Thank you very much, Andrew, for joining us again. If you can briefly let us know why Taiwan sides with Japan continuously.
Well, Taiwan wants to use Japan's revisionism to further its momentum towards a degree of independence under the leadership of this quite notorious separatist who has a long record of moving the island towards a greater degree of, within quotation marks, independence. But this coincides with the emergence of the first female prime minister, who is also a known anti-China hawk and also represents the Japan's revisionist forces who want Japan to change the wartime constitution to enable Japan to rearm itself as a normal country, to project its military power in the region and perhaps around the world. And that, of course, raises the specter of Japan's past invasion of China, and of course, Japan's aggression in the Second World War, starting the Second World War. Not least is also exacerbated Japan's absence of apology for its war crimes in China and elsewhere. It's never apologized for what Japan did for the Second World War, unlike West Germany's former chancellor, who very quickly after the end of the Second World War knelt down in silence, apologizing for the Nazi crimes. But that's not the same as in the case of Japan. Japan has never apologized. And so that's why there is a national kind of reaction to what Japan is doing now, and hence this pushback against Japan.
Right, and Andrew, like you mentioned, Japan's reaction and this pushback of Japan's missile deployment on Yonaguni Island. Looking at the reactions from China and Taiwan, what do you think this reveals about competing security priorities of them, and to what extent is Japan's decision a defensive measure versus a perceived escalation?
Let's not forget that even in anticipation of the ascendancy of this lady prime minister, who is known to be a revisionist, the United States withdrew its mid-range missiles from Japan's soil only a couple of weeks ago, so as to forestall the possibility that these mid-range missiles deployed in Japan, American missiles, could be used to start a war with China, because these mid-range missiles could reach Beijing and Shanghai. But now the Japanese government is now deploying missiles. These are surface-to-air missiles on much shorter range, but nevertheless, that represents a escalation because the deployment of these missiles on a pretext of national security, linking it to Taiwan, begs the question that Taiwan is 1,400 miles away from Japan or 2,400 kilometers away. So how is that a crisis situation in Taiwan would immediately trigger national security? Japan seems to stretch the point a little bit too far, and that's why the Beijing is now responding in the way it's doing.
Yes, indeed. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Andrew K. Long for joining us as a